Have you ever bought a dupe?
I have. No, I will say that with chest. I have. Okay.
Same.
I have.
I say that, but I also have.
I think it's the world we live in, genuinely.
Blaming the
Responsibility. Absolutely.
I am taking responsibility, and I think that's where accountability also takes place.
You seem to have. Sorry, I'm so sorry to interject.
Exactly, you can talk.
You seem to have strong opinions about dupes and replicas. What are your feelings about it?
Okay, personally, I don't believe in buying dupes because I feel like it's a bit disrespectful to the original designer, because I know like people who create art are very sensitive about the things that they create.
As they should be.
I wouldn't judge a person for like buying a dupe. If that's your thing, it's okay. But I just think it's not something that I would condone.
The few times, I'm not gonna lie, it wasn't once. The few times that in my past, that I have partook in buying some replicas. But yeah, I share the same sentiments with you now that I've learned and I have an understanding that,
Because back on your point, disclaimer, it was once. Okay. It was one time. Okay. I was young.
Okay.
Thank you. Just putting that out there because I don't want to be cancelled.
Also, it could even ruin the reputation of that brand.
Yeah, actually.
Because if people see your product being used in a certain way and it's not efficient or it's not good quality, you might lose a customer that way,
That's true.
That's what she said.
Hello everybody and welcome back to another exciting episode we have in store for you. We have to get real about fast fashion. We all love a good bargain, but is fast fashion really worth the low cost? Welcome to That's What She Said. This is a space for us girls to discuss global issues that affect our lives. Show of hands, who here has bought fast fashion? Yes, even me. We're going to get into this video that's going to show you exactly what we're talking about, and then we'll come back. And we're back. My name is Thando. I'm your host for today, and I am joined by these two lovely ladies. Please introduce yourselves to our audience.
My name is Siki, and I am a fashion enthusiast. I love all things fashion, but with a touch of sustainability.
I love that for us. I love for the environment.
Hi, I'm Iviwe, and I genuinely just love fashion in general and individuality of fashion and how you can express yourself. So I think that's why I'm here.
Cool. We just watched that video. What is your instant reaction when you see something like that, especially when it's been super cut in that way?
Firstly, I'm not going to judge, right? And the reason why I say that is because a part of me personally, I do participate in that culture to a certain degree. Because, it is affordable, and as a student, we love all things affordable. You know what I mean? But there's definitely room where we could improve in addressing it, because I think it's just us being lacking with the knowledge of what this is really like creating.
I agree, because for me it looks like it's a little bit of showmanship also, because is there a need to buy that many clothes?
But I think the thing is, in this generation especially, if you're not participating in that thing, it's like you're being left behind, and it's not a nice feeling,
I'm not that judge. I'm judging you. Honestly, did you see how much packaging they used? And it's genuinely unnecessary in general. Me, I can say this confidently because I've never shopped off on Shein before, that I'm judging you.
Okay.
Yes, and I believe that we genuinely should be aware of the brands that we shop from, and necessarily, if you're going to talk about sustainability, make sure that this packaging is either biodegradable or, in general, don't use such packaging or...
Sure thing, and I hear both sides. So let's get into it. What are your actual genuine thoughts? And this is a safe space, we can share. You already are old enough to speak the truth. I
that's
can tell. But what are your genuine thoughts and opinions about such massive conglomerates such as Shein and the Temus and the Amazons of the world? What do you think about these companies?
It's horrible what they're doing. It is horrible what they're doing. But I think I'm coming from a space of being realistic, even with the economic conditions in which we live under. Luxury brands are very much in the sustainable space. But also in terms of affordability, it's wild. I think we even had a conversation about it earlier when we were talking about even socks now cost 800 Rand. We use 800 Rand to buy groceries. When you live in res, you know what I mean? So I think as much as definitely we do need to address how much in terms of chemical pollutions and resource depletion, those type of problems, but also coming at it with grace in understanding the realistic parts in the economic conditions in which we live.
Sure. And what do you think about it, Iviwe?
I think it's just because people don't understand the statistics of it all. Genuinely, like, fast fashion has increased by 400%. I didn't think that it can increase by 400% because I thought it ends at 100. But genuinely, 400%. And
what does that even mean?
Like, what does that even mean? It's like crazy because it just means that we are just so consumed by the consumerism and just being in touch with the latest trends. And through that whole process, we don't know what is right anymore. We just want to shop. And also, we don't understand the people that are packaging these. We don't understand everything. We just want to shop because, hey,
it's trending.
I'm shopping on Shein.
It's nice there.
I'm a Shein hola. Whatever. You see what I mean? So it's like, I think we have to understand the whole picture before we just click order and check out. Understand?
Totally agree.
I love that you say that because I've also seen when the girlies are being called in, or sometimes called out, they almost double down. They're like, you're not going to get in my business. Now you're getting my finances. You don't tell me what to spend my money on. Which fair, but at the same time, sure, we're just kind of alerting you that what you're doing, these are the consequences of it all. Maybe let's get then into what kind of shops do you shop at and your rationale behind shopping at those shops. I'll go first. For me, to be honest with you, I don't know, maybe it's because I've settled in who I am because of age.
You're old.
But not old, older. I've stopped wanting to, I don't know, be validated by society. I mostly shop in South Africa from South African brands such as Big Blue that are affordable, but not only affordable, also for me specifically, it's particularly because I struggle to go to the shops and just pick up something off of the rack. I'll often have to tailor stuff that I buy. And so I've found specific shops that cater for my body size and my body type. As a bigger girl, it's a little more difficult to, and I know some shops definitely cater to bigger bodied girls, but for those reasons, I found shops locally that I can go and purchase stuff from. There's a whole strip in Linden that I go to. So I don't remember buying anything online ever.
So you're very intentional with how you shop.
I don't think it's my body size that's made me intentional. But I don't, to be honest, I wasn't thinking sustainability in the beginning or this is more sustainable.
Just them like
and
being
ethical.
able to cater to you.
Basically. What about you guys?
I shop, I can't say this out loud, but I shop at Cotton On, H&M, Mr. Price. You know, I am very into the fast fashion, but not necessarily because of the clothing, just because that's what's thrown at me. Like Mr. Price, everybody shops at Mr. Price now. You know, Cotton On, everybody shops at Cotton On now. So it's like, it's thrown at me. It's in my face that I have to shop there because now I need clothes. You understand? So that's where I shop. But I'm not Shein.
I think I shop similar to you, and I don't think it's because for me it's thrown at me. It's just the affordability aspect of it. Even with the thrifting, as much as I love expressing my individuality through thrifting, but it's very affordable. And it's so wild because these three that you just mentioned and we agreed on, do you know they call them the fast fashion giants?
Interessant.
But it's definitely the affordability aspect. I'm not gonna lie. I think I would be more intentional if I was at a space in my life where I could afford certain things and certain brands. I just think it's because of where I am in life right now.
But you also are a massive thrifter.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I love thrifting. I convinced my friends who don't thrift to thrift. They fall in love with it. I really think it's a good alternative, especially for students or especially for people who want to save money and are trying love shopping on a budget. So yeah, definitely thrifting culture. Me, I'm there. You'll always find me by the stalls trying to find the best
I
deal.
love it. And we'll get into it. For sure. I just want us to get it a little bit, just to dive a bit deeper into the conversation of the big issues that come with consuming fast fashion. Issues such as exploitation, pollution, that sort of thing. What are your thoughts on how deep this goes? It's not just about you're spending so much money, it ends up somewhere where you don't want it. Like, what are your other thoughts about the issues that come with fast fashion?
In landfills now, it's no longer heaters and plastic. It's genuinely just heaps and piles and piles and piles of clothes. And it makes me sick because we just throw things away in terms of just to get the next, be part of the next trend, that we don't necessarily understand what it's causing us. Guys, because like 10% of the pollution carbon emissions is literally just
Textiles.
fast fashion alone. And it makes me crazy because there's people that don't have clothes. Why don't you just donate those clothes? Or there's people thrifting. Why don't you just give it to the thrifting shops? Like, why do you have to throw it away? Because most of the time it's literally good stuff. And I want to punch people.
The violence.
I don't have anger issues, I promise.
That's not the violence. We can discuss with grace and with your stats that you just mentioned, just to elucidate people on how actually deep the problem runs. I mean, I think the Greenpeace reported that approximately 35% of primary microplastics in the oceans are from washing synthetic textiles, which is a wild number.
I was reading on that.
And a wild number, because before we were like, save the turtles, stop with the plastic straws. But now textiles are giving straws a run for its money.
Do you know the microfibers that you're talking about? The microfibers from washing these textiles, they are equivalent to 50 billion plastic bottles in the ocean.
Really?
So every time you wash it, the microfibers, they're equivalent to that 50 billion.
That's a lot.
50 billion plastic bottles in the oceans.
That's a ton of pollution. Not only that, not only just bad for the environment, also in terms of just, social justice. A lot of the time, the people that work in these companies, because they have to mass produce them, so that means they need more hands, more people, more bodies on deck. They will hire children and immigrants who don't have papers to be in places that they work at, and then exploit them and not pay them enough wages. Not only that, but also, which means then if they don't have legality to be wherever they are, then that means they can be easily exploited in terms of their rights and workers' rights and such things. I find that to be pretty gross.
Actually, I agree on that because it's mainly women that are in these spaces, and these women specifically they're not exposed to knowledge about human rights, and they're faced with poverty. Let's just be real. They're faced with poverty, and any income is good income. I'm like, it's gross, like you said, and it's like...
I was actually following a story. There's always things coming out about them, especially with hiring underage children to work for them, because they don't really have the power to demand fair wages. They take whatever they can get, and sometimes they don't even get paid because they can't really do anything. There's been instances where there have been people who've tried to sue them, but they can't because they're such a big corporation. So when it comes to underage kids working for these companies, I think it's even a bigger issue that we still need to address, because I don't think there's enough people talking about it to bring like a spotlight to that issue.
So true. One of the alternatives that we touched on earlier is considering using clothes that have been used before, thrifting, as it were, that you were talking about in your passion, small passion that you have.
I think Gen Z in general participates in thrift culture, especially here in Joburg. If we're not thrifting at Melville, we're thrifting at Small Street. If we're not thrifting at Small Street, they're in town. Nice thrifting place. And I think it's just because, first of all, it's cheaper. way cheaper to buy something at a thrift store. Second of all, it's sustainable, like we touched on earlier. And third of all, it's just genuinely, we are a generation that's woke. We understand the benefits of thrifting, and we understand that thrifting, as much as it's shunned upon by certain people's generations, it's just genuinely...
Very ageist, aren't you?
No, you're not that old, Thando. It's okay.
No, I'm not that old.
Yeah, you're not that old. But it's like genuinely like a thing. It's become a norm for us at this point. Like, instead, you're judged for not thrifting. Like, you're judged for not thrifting. Aibo, you don't thrift? Come on, girl. Like, we're woke generation.
And that's beautiful. I think that I find that to be endearing, because it means that there is work being done to, I don't know, maybe boost the information that's out there. If the younger generation has already caught on and is actually making it cooler, that's incredible. But I know, Siki, in some spaces, there are some negative attitudes towards
100%.
thrifting. What have you seen?
Well, back home in the Eastern Cape, it's not really a thing. When I go to town, I barely see stalls of people selling. And even when I do come across them, there's no people there. I was thinking about it quite a lot. And then I realized this is a mental thing. As Black people sometimes, especially generations before us, they like status. You know what I mean? Like, I need to get the best clothes with the big names in order for people to see that, like, I've made it. I need to buy the best car and buy the best house in the best neighborhood, even if sometimes you can barely afford those things. So I think it's a way of thinking that has influenced some of us in this current generation, and that's why you find it in some spaces that it's looked down upon. But then you come here, and here it's like,
Welcome. You're wearing your grandfather's jacket. It looks nice.
Yeah, I want it too, you know. So I think, in some spaces, definitely, like even my mom, she doesn't really understand why I thrift, because she's like, "Mai, give me you money. Why can't you just buy clothes from the price?
New ones.
You know, better new ones, you know." But I just feel like it's a thought pattern that they have to, like, we have to show off, we have to show people that we've made it. So we need to, you know, dress this way. But I love spaces like Johannesburg where you can get here and people just celebrate you for showing your uniqueness and your individuality, you know, but still being very sustainably conscious.
It's also, I suppose, generational trauma, so to speak.
You reckon?
To touch on your age question, Iviwe. It's generational trauma in the sense that some people feel like, me, I grew up poor and I was wearing hand-me-downs.
Now I can't do that now.
And
even
now I have a job, even a little bit of money, and now you're telling me with that money I must now
go thrifting.
go buy hand-me-downs.
No, that makes so much sense, actually.
Right. So in that sense, I get it. But for me, to be honest, I can't relate. Just because I have little sisters younger than me, we often share our wardrobe. And also, Yambona, even Iviwe now, her jacket is so big, right? So even though I'm much bigger than my little sisters, they are still able to raid my wardrobe, and find whatever they want to add, whatever to their outfit. And I find that to be also helpful instead of that day, because there's also an attitude of like, oh, there's an event, I didn't know I was going to go to this event. Let me quickly buy. Yeah. So instead of doing that, how about let's see what's clean in the wardrobe quickly so you can use that.
Why do we link thrifting to poverty though? I don't understand, because we come out with good clothes in thrifting.
I think it's a question of newness. I mean, I can't really speak for my generation, to be honest, because I don't get that either.
Okay.
I'm a thrifter myself. But I do get the sense of wanting something new, wanting something that no one else has ever touched, and it's yours. And I don't know, some people are sentimental about things, but in my view.
Definitely.
Yeah. Moving on, I think we should now touch on how do we prioritize a slow fashion movement and prioritize quality over quantity.
Firstly, don't be scared to wear something twice, you guys. Me, I don't understand this thing. If someone sees you, they dare see you wearing something twice. It's like,
twice in a week.
The world is ending. Yeah. It's okay. Like, I also think when you shop, find things that are versatile. Find things that you can wear in different ways. You know what I mean? Also, don't wash your laundry as much. As we've mentioned before, the microfibers that are created by washing your laundry, it has a very big impact, especially for animals underwater.
I did not know about that.
100%. Now you know. That's what she
I thought
said.
it was just, yeah, that's what she said.
That's what she said, for real, for real.
She told us.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I'll consider that. That's a new one for me.
The washing the clothes.
Yeah, because I mean, there is, I am of the culture. I mean, for instance, these jeans, I'll probably wear them again before I give them
Wash
another
them.
wash. But some clothes obviously get stinky and a little funky. So,
I also think to help you, a tip to help you.
Yes, please.
Look at the quality. Lower quality clothes have a lot more microfibers. So it's okay if you wash like this denim. This is good quality denim. So I could wash it regularly. But there's certain tops that I have, I'm like, maybe even they get discolored, stuff like, so items like that, maybe reconsider not washing them as much.
often.
Okay.
Interessant.
Okay.
Okay, thanks for that.
Per.
Hear that? Maybe you already knew, but I didn't, and that's okay. It's okay to not know. So, Avio, what's your take? What do you think we can add to this conversation of prioritizing quantity over quality and slow fashion movement?
With fast fashion, we've lost individuality. And now we want to buy more and more of what's trending. And we've lost a sense of who we are and how to express ourselves using our clothes and using fashion, because that's a big way of self-expression. And I think we genuinely need to focus on how to create those outfits. Just going back deeper into what fashion means to us as people. And I think we shouldn't lose our individuality through it all. You understand?
No, I
So I think that's
definitely
how we can
agree.
slow it down, by focusing
Yeah.
on us.
I just really love how you touched on a subject that I don't think we talk enough about individuality and self-expression. More than that, also beyond self, even gender expression. Certain people, I think of my sister, for instance, she's a totally straight girl, but she's super androgynous. When she walks into a shop, she starts from the women's section all the way to the men's section. Nothing matters. She'll pick up pieces, and it's really cool. She looks cool. She looks great. I commend her. I oftentimes look at her and I'm like, yes, girl, who looks like this? Nobody. Which is really, really dope. I think now let's get into the conversation of the what to do now. How do we promote a sustainable fashion industry within our continent? And I think in Kenya, there's like a slogan where it's like buy Kenya, buy Kenyan goods, local brands. I think in South Africa as well, there's also Proudly SA. They also
For South
promote,
Africans, by South Africans.
They also promote buying locally. I'm a fan. I've spoken about this in the beginning of the show, and I've found, I mean, really great brands that are affordable. To be honest, some they can be pricey, but I found brands that are for me, that suit me and my fashion needs. What have you found in the scene that we can do to promote sustainable fashion in Africa?
I think
Maybe most of South Africa.
I think we say support local brands, but maybe start from your own community. There are people that design in our communities that I feel like we neglect. And when we talk about the issue of affordability, but still being sustainable, I think that's where we could go if we want things that are affordable, but things that are still stylish. Because if you go to someone in the community, they can even be your tailor. They do various things for you when you are there, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? So just start in your community before you even go to town. Just start in your own community. And I just think having more conversations like this.
Just going to touch up on your point. I completely disagree. Well,
Really?
like start in your community, yes, that. But I don't think that, they can be, because like, for example, Kasi brands can be hella expensive. For a bucket hat, you pay 850 and you're like...
But that's when you negotiate, because when you go to town, you can't really negotiate yourself out of certain prices. But if you're in the Kasi, you're in the hood, and you're talking to this lady, she will give you a discount. They always give out discount. They might act like they won't, but if you're persistent, trust me, they will give you that discount. And I think I'm just comparing it to the bigger brands that we're talking about, where you have to buy socks for 800 800 rand. Like, it's better than that. It's not going to be totally off, but it's better than having to overspend.
And it could be also that the reason why we know about so many of the luxury brands locally, the Maxhosas, the Urban Zulus, I think the Tulasin, I don't know.
The
Tulasin,
Kisua.
yes. It's maybe because they actually have the funds for marketing
100%.
and we really just don't be knowing about people around us locally within our city, our town,
100%.
our neighborhood and that sort of thing. Because really, for me, when everyone talks buy locally, my immediate thought is, I can't afford that. I can't afford a Maxhosa bralette. And then what ends up happening with that conversation is that then there's people who are going to see their designs and then they will replicate them. Have you ever bought a dupe?
I have. No, I will say that with chest. I have. Okay.
Same.
I
say that, but I also have.
Like, okay, maybe one thing. But I have. Like, I genuinely have. Because I think wanting to keep in trend and being, in the space of being trendy and being a trendsetter, So I have, and I'm not proud about it because...
Same. Like, I feel guilty doing it.
Yeah, because now, like, this whole thing, they're making a name for themselves and then you go there. 50 rand for something, something is 50 rand. Kanti, when you look at the website, it's like 5,000 rand. And I'm like, now I feel guilty. And I think it's the world we live in, genuinely.
Blaming the world.
Absolutely.
I am taking responsibility, and I think that's where accountability also takes place.
You seem to have... Sorry, I'm so sorry to interject.
Exactly, you can talk.
You seem to have strong opinions about dupes and replicas. What are your feelings about it?
Okay, personally, I don't believe in buying dupes because I feel like, for me, it's a bit disrespectful to the original designer because I know, like, people who create art are very sensitive about the things that they create.
As they should be.
So it's not I don't have a big problem with people doing it in the sense that I wouldn't judge a person for, like, buying a dupe. If that's your thing, it's okay. But I just think it's not something that I would condone or something that I would do. I see them by a small street and I see them like this and then I just go the other way because the things do look enticing and do look nice, you know what I mean? But I just don't think it's something that I would go behind and be like, yeah, let's do this
also,
thing.
Oftentimes you're taking a gamble, right, with your money. I've seen lately there was a trend of girls who bought the fake Mr. Price Birkenstocks and they make a sound.
I saw that.
When you walk
I saw that.
So it's like, I bought these shoes last week and they were like about 150 and now I can't even wear them or they're broken within like after one wear.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like I said, I'm not proud of the few times, I'm not going to lie, it wasn't once, the few times that in my past, that I have partook in buying some replicas. But yeah, I share the same sentiments with you now that I've learned and I have an understanding that, these people put in a lot of work in designing these things. They put their heart and soul into it. And then someone who decides, hey, I have lots of money to make more of these things, they go and they make more of them.
Because back on your point, disclaimer, it was once. Okay. It was one time. Okay. I was young.
Okay.
Thank you. Just putting that out there because I don't want to be cancelled.
Also, it could even ruin the reputation of that brand.
Yeah, actually.
Because if people see your product being used in a certain way and it's not efficient or it's not good quality, you might lose a customer that way,
That's true. Speaking of which, I think that's a perfect segue into going into our interview with our amazing guest, who's one half of the co-founders of One of Each. It's a luxury brand. They make accessories and other products. She's with us. She's given us her time, and we're going to talk to her just now.
That's what she said.
Thank you so much for joining us. Let us know, how did you guys collaborate in bringing this brand to life?
So let me just take a couple of steps back to give you context. I was born in Zimbabwe and we moved to South Africa when I was 5 years old. My mom had actually left a very successful clothing manufacturing company in Zimbabwe. So, growing up, it was kind of like I was always watching my mom trying to make it in an industry that really here locally in South Africa, having moved countries where it was post-apartheid, there was no way that she was going to make it in the fashion industry. So I pretty much really grew up watching her and her desires to become a brand, to become a product of something, as successful as she was in Zimbabwe. Fast forward, I went to university. I then got a job in banking, but still I'd always been a creative. And I got home and my mom had made one of our fold-over bags, offcuts of leather and African textiles. And for many years we were making clothing. I said to my mom, we're not making clothes anymore. The bags are going to be our product. And fast forward 10 years later, this is our 10th year in business. We started in 2014. We are an award-winning exporter. We export to the US quite often. And besides that, we've got a very heavy social impact part within the business. We have a training academy that I'm not going to say empowers. I'm going to say that collaborates with young women from unserved communities to work with them to be able to get into the sustainable fashion industry through teaching them garment construction and slow fashion and sustainable fashion. Yeah, so that's the story of one of them. Yeah.
That's really, really incredible. So a part of the conversation that we've been having is also, because we've been talking about fast fashion and how we can curb it. And one of the alternatives that come up is that we need to consider, buying local and really having a focus on buying local. But then the thing that's come up is that buying local, usually a lot of you guys are luxury brands. And so it's not necessarily brands that are, a lot of them are not brands that are available, accessible to the layman. And then we also went on to speak about how ends up happening is that then there's going to be production people or producers of clothing who see these brands and they see that people actually really, really love them. And so then they'll make dupes of those luxury brands. What are your thoughts on that, both in terms of the affordability aspect of it, as well as the dupes that are now being made in order to kind of bridge the gap?
If you look at the bottom line of the amount that these products cost and everything that goes into it, you'll actually realize that, yes, it costs more, but it makes sense. It's traceable. There's accountability most of the time. So also within a industry that's growing, that's new, it's very normal for products to start off as luxury products, right? Because everything is niche, everything is new. There aren't replicas of it yet. You know? So it's normal for these products to cost more because it's new, it's different. You've never seen it before. As we are growing, as we need to be more accessible to everybody. So I think as the industry grows and as we make room for other people to be able to start brands, open their own businesses, there can be more variety, there can be more access and more affordability. And then to answer your question about
the replicas
and all of that, one thing that I believe is that once someone replicates what you've done, it means that you've done something really well.
Oh, that's what she says.
We know there are many stories of, your big brands, which I won't mention, who copied local, even South African designers.
We've mentioned them.
But how do we hold these brands accountable? How do we ask them these questions as the consumers? We are the people that have the ability to fight these battles as consumers, because the minute you buy from a brand, you're investing in that company.
So do you believe that the consumer is in control of what you guys launch, if you understand what I mean?
Mm-hmm. So the consumer is not always in control of what we put out there. I think what we put out there as the brand is very authentic to what we believe. We really know who our customer is. We know what they're looking for. We know what they appreciate. But I think the consumer has a lot of power in terms of how you produce what you produce or how they receive the messaging of your product and your brand.
Who is in the wrong? Is it the enterprises that are replicating the products, or is it the consumers that buy the product knowing very well that it's a replica and not the original?
So I wouldn't say there's someone in the wrong.
Okay.
Because I think we have a long way to go, and it's all about understanding if you jump in there and you understand how local brands or luxury local brands produce, you're more likely to want to, have a behavior of, it's all psychological, consumer behavior. So it's not really saying that the person who buys it is wrong or the person who's replicating it is wrong. It's all about really like understanding the processes of what goes in all of these and the intention. It's all about intention. What is the intention behind when you replicate something that's been designed by somebody else? As a local South African brand, we train a lot of business entrepreneurs in the creative industry, and our message to them is the reason why you don't want to replicate somebody else's product is because our consumers are all the same people. Right? So especially from an export point of view, a buyer from, let's say, a big store in the US would come to South Africa and they're looking for local South African brands. They've done the research on all of us. They know who is the top accessory designer and what do they create. What is the difference between this accessory designer and that accessory designer? Those are the things that should deter us from actually replicating or copying other people's goods.
Earlier on, you mentioned an academy. How do you ensure sustainability is in the syllabus and what in your teachings, essentially?
So, sustainability for us is really in the DNA of our business because we started the business with offcuts of leather and offcuts of fabric and fabrics that my mom had accumulated over time. So we started the business with really nothing. If I can tell you, we started the business with 1,500 Rand. A year later, we had turned over over R1 million. We take that experience and that learning and we've put it into the curriculum. How do you say you're a woman-owned brand and a woman-owned company? What are those needs? What do women need if they're working for a woman-owned company? What makes you different? At One of Each, for instance, we have healthcare. It's not many companies that have that kind of thing. We're not a multi-billionaire company, but these are small things that we've implemented to ensure that we're a sustainable brand, but we pass these learnings on to our learners at the same time. And the training happens where the business also operates. So they actually get to see the activities and what actually goes down.
What advice do you have for young fashion enthusiasts who are trying to get into the business about the opportunities that are in fashion?
Get on the ground. It's not glamorous to be a fashion designer or a fashion entrepreneur or a social entrepreneur. I think it's important within your fashion businesses or aspire to be in fashion industries to firstly aspire to work with sustainable companies. And secondly, if you are going to start your own business, have an impact approach to it because customers and people are looking for something that is just more than just the product. It's not about the how, it's not about the why, it's more about who are you serving and how are you serving these people. We often think that it's all about the glamour, it's about the fame, it looks good, but creative work and fashion is very, very hard. It's very, very challenging. Running a fashion business is not easy. So I encourage young people to get into the industry, but get your foot on the ground and really be in there.
Incredible. Thank you so much for your insights. I think that's us. All the best with One of Each. Hope the raw materials don't run out.
Thank you. I wish you guys all the best with your careers as well.
Thank you.
And personal life, because personal life is very
Absolutely.
important.
Thank you.
Have a fantastic day.
Bye.
That was such insightful chat. I think for me, mostly, I just love that they're like a mom and daughter duo.
Yeah, melts my heart.
Right?
Makes it wholesome.
So wholesome. And not only that, also, obviously they're sustainable. They source raw materials, which is super cool. And not only that, they don't just end it within the company, and then they also impart knowledge onto other people so they can also do the same. Did you find that interesting at all?
Two things. Firstly, I feel like she owes us a masterclass on how to turn 1.5 into 1 million.
Hello? Exactly. Hello.
Let's talk about that for a minute. But also, I love her in fact, the brand's approach are not just only focusing on what type of fabrics that they're using, the textiles that they're using to combat sustainability. They're trying different things, even with the job creations that they're doing, even with the teaching that they're doing. It's like they're fighting sustainability in different ways, and that's very commendable because that's a lot of work. That's a lot of work.
I think it's powerful how a sustainable company is where it is right now in terms of money. Your millionaire company, like, you know. I also think that it's amazing how they're giving young women opportunities. But the fact that it's a black woman in this space is just powerful. It's a mandala itself.
Super cool.
Yeah.
Having spoken to Tamburai just now, who's given us lots of insights, I'm having a burning question of what else can we do, young women especially, to hold these big brands accountable for the amount of waste, pollution, all the things that they do within the fast fashion industry in the name of profit. For me, I've seen how powerful our voices are when we band together. I think recently there was a trend where someone spoke ill of fat people, basically telling them, if you don't lose the weight, then don't expect that there'll be brands who will cater to you. And it's a weird thing to say, because if you're trying to lose weight, what are you supposed to do? Do it naked. It's a weird thing. But at the same time, there's been pushback because there's a lot of fat, plus size, and I use the word fat intentionally, because it's not a scary word. It's just matter of fact. But yeah, there's been lots of women who have taken the charge and were able to send emails to speak to brands when they host them at these influencer marketing events that they host, and they can tell them that, actually, I really like your clothes, but you don't provide my size, so I would like to give you my money. I would like to invest in your company and what you do because I like what you do, but just make it accessible for people who are of this size or whatever the case, or people who are maybe on a wheelchair and they need something different. And brands listen, and they actually provide that. I mean, a perfect example is Fashion Nova. We need to not take for granted that our voices matter and they mean something, and reach out. Just speak your truth and express how you feel. And how we feel in this episode specifically is, please just like be cognizant of the amount of waste and pollution and exploitation that you're imparting onto the world, really, and do better.
Yeah, what I've been learning through the power of the internet is boycotting.
Halala.
And it sounds very hectic. It sounded very hectic to me also when I first heard about it, like just letting go of a brand that you've been supporting for years. But I also think if you are serious in your journey of sustainability and being informed about the brands that you use, I think it is okay to just take a step back sometimes, because there's so many brands around the world. We have 195 countries, guys, and now we have shipping. You can explore so many other brands that hold similar values to you. So it's okay to let go of brands that you've been using for a long period of time to stand for something, you know?
Yeah, I agree with you. Also, our voice is very powerful. We live in a society where social media is a very big thing. And you post that video you have in your drafts where you're talking badly about a company. Okay, not badly. Okay, not badly. Wait,
critically.
Yes, yeah. when you speaking on the issues that company specifically has, and genuinely we listen. Social media people listen, because the more people repost that video, the more the company is forced to listen. Because once you force a company to do something, best believe they will do it, because otherwise they will lose money in general, because like you said, people will boycott, people will stop using that. And there's a lot of companies we should be boycotting. You know yourselves. Yeah.
Wow. I think we'll wrap it up there. It's been such a delicious conversation, guys. I really enjoyed it, and I hope the listeners / the watchers also enjoyed it too. Come back for more episodes. We talk about lots and lots of delicious things, and you won't be disappointed. Don't forget to like this video if you did like it, and also subscribe, share it with a friend, and come back for more. That's been an amazing episode of
That's What She Said.
Bye-bye.
Period.